She emerged as an important voice for the transformation of her country. After the spark of revolution came the long, patient work of rebuilding, often the hardest work. You know, why do revolutions fail? Well, oftentimes because it's really hard to turn a country around, to build institutions of government, to govern. And she was in the midst of doing exactly that. She dedicated herself to working with a broad coalition of women and activists. And even today, despite the conflict currently underway in Sudan, she is working to figure out what can be done when the fighting finally stops. Now, Muna Lachman is a co-founder of the Women's Solidarity Network, a chairperson of the Yemeni Foundation, Food for Humanity, and a member of the Women's Alliance for Security Leadership. Working with Yemeni grassroots organizations, she is always advocating for women to have a seat at the peacekeeping table. And I have to say, Muna, it reminds me, Milan and I were at a conference together 2 years ago, right after the start of the war in Ukraine, and we were working to get humanitarian supplies, particularly food, and we were working with the wonderful organization World Central Kitchen, headed by Jose Andreas, and they were setting up kitchens and handing out food all over the country. But we were in conversation with women on the ground in Ukraine, and they were telling us they need to move where they're giving the food out. They need to have a different setting. They need to move it over here. And we immediately got on the phone and started telling people, we're hearing it from the women who are collecting the food and feeding people, and here's what you need to do. So I know that you're on the ground, you're doing that work, and you are not only a voice for Yemeni women in peace, but you are a worldwide advocate for peace. You've been frequently involved in briefing the UN Security Council, members of Congress here in the United States, and the UN Human Rights Council. You know, Galia Al-Rahal is going to be with us virtually. She is the founder and executive director of Mazeb. That is an organization for empowering women, and she's a member of the Syrian women's political movement. I have to say, let's not ever forget Syria. They have been under brutal attack from Assad and Assad's allies, Iran and Russia, for a decade. And she is someone who, in defiance of personal threats and attacks, including the assassination of her son, a journalist, has been working to energize the Syrian women's movement. In 2013, amid the war, she converted her beauty salon into a center